Eloise, great to see you again. Welcome back to Popternative.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
I've lost track of time. I don't know when we spoke, but I think it was even during the pandemic. It was a
I
long
think
time
it was
ago.
I think it was 2020 when I was doing the right stuff.
Oh my God, has it been like 4 or 5 years already? It's crazy.
I know, time is
Well, it's
flying.
good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Anytime there's something that's based on something that existed before, or we've seen kind of different versions of it, I'm wondering from an acting storyteller perspective, what your specific journey and relationship is with like original source material. Like, do you look at like the past cross stuff that's out there, or do you kind of go in fresh with this specific one on Prime?
I love to do jobs that have source material,
Yeah.
because I'm a nerd at heart, and so having a breadth of things that I can consume, as a good student is always my dream. But and also as a person who comes from the theater, having like sort of the dramaturgy of all of the research of reading reading the source material. So I was really thrilled to be part of this, mainly because it's such a hugely successful universe.
Yeah.
Like Alex Cross, what James Patterson created with that character, and with not just the character but the whole community of characters around him, has resonated with audiences, or readers I should say, well, and audiences too, with the movies, so tremendously. And I can totally understand why. I hadn't read the books before I was cast in this role, and so upon getting cast, I dug into the books and I immediately saw why people get hooked on them. I mean, I spent many a night in Toronto alone, just like flipping through the pages, because he really knows plot, and how, and also how to build complex characters, and how to the twists and the turns and all of that. So it was really fun for me to get to dive into all that, and then of course we're telling a fresh new story
Of
that is
course.
not
Yeah.
right.
Of
It's
course.
not a
Yeah.
mystery. That's
Well,
one which is
it's
cool.
it's so interesting to me too because there's always this tug of war. I feel like ping pong match whenever there's something that's based on a book,
Yep.
because you have like the fans of the book who are excited to see something based, like it's based on the book. It's not the book, it's the live action Prime series. So it's like some things are going to be different, some things are going to be similar. I feel like that's, do you think about that at all? Because I do find that so interesting, to be honest with you, that like ping pong match between like the book and the show.
Totally. And I was in the 50 Shades trilogy. So
Yes, you are.
coming from like a very popular book series and having it be, on screen, is something that I dealt with then too. And it's cool because you've got a built-in fan base, right? And you want to do right by them. And also you're competing a little bit with people's imaginations, right?
Yep.
And like who they picture in their mind someone would be. And I think that Aldous is so perfectly Alex Cross, and seeming from the reviews and from reading what people are saying, everyone else agrees too. It's like he captures something so fundamental about that character,
People
and he
are
brings
loving
heart.
it. How long? So you shot this in Toronto. Now, when you went, were you in Toronto for like the months, and then like were there breaks? Did you like stay in Toronto the whole time? Like when you film your stuff, I feel like it depends, right? Like some people end up like, because you said 2 years, right? Like there's breaks, you go and back. Like what was that like for you?
Yeah, so we filmed about for 6 months, and
Okay.
I was there pretty much for most of it. I think I left once or twice, maybe. But just with the way that the filming schedule was working, it didn't make
Mhm.
sense. It's far. It's another, you
For
have to
sure.
go
Well,
through.
I know last time we
It's
talked,
like
like you love Canada. You love, there's a specific chocolate bar you were talking about last time, but I
Wonder
forget.
Bar. I do. I love. Yes. Oh my God, such a good
Do you
memory.
remember that like vaguely? Because like when I was going back to
Totally.
this, like we talked about that for like 10 minutes in the interview. Like I love Canada. I love the chocolate bar.
I just had another interview come out, and the headline was "Actor Loves All Things Canada," and I was like, oh man, I'm really putting my flag in that one. Yeah. So I mostly stayed there, and
Yeah.
it actually worked. It was winter, it was freezing.
Oh,
And it
yeah.
actually worked out really well for my character. I was there by myself, and I'm not method at all. Like I like to come in and out of, the characters once they call cut, having but it was very solitary, and I spent a lot of time listening to podcasts about art because that's what my character is into,
Yeah.
and spent a lot of time just sort of contemplating, the meaning of life, because that's pertinent for my character's journey. And Yeah, it was really a sort of solitary, cold experience, and I feel like you can sort of tell that on screen.
Absolutely, that's so well said. There's a lot of preparation that goes into it. Some people also have like playlists that they listen to over and over again to get in the mood. I'm just curious, like, how separate are past journeys compared to something like Cross? Like, do you bring mindsets preparation from things like the right stuff, 50 Shades, to something like Cross, or are they completely separate once you wrap them? I'm curious about that.
Well, that's a great question. I went to, drama school, like, for college. I went to Tisch, NYU, and I studied at Atlantic Theater Company, and so I really do still go back to the sort of training and methodology that I learned there, at school, which is called practical aesthetics. It's a very, like, it's sort of what I was talking about, preparation. It's very
Mhm.
preparation-based, philosophy, and so and that you do all the prep, you do all the prep, and then you show up on set and you just sort of see what happens in the moment, right?
Yeah.
And so that I bring that to all of my roles for sure. But this character in particular, I mean, this is the most challenging thing I've ever done. Um, and that was so exciting to do something that was that hard, that challenging.
Yeah.
And I think in part it was so challenging because I was having to go to places that I've never, had to go to, obviously in life or on screen. And so figuring out a way into all those moments, I was really having to get creative in that way, and that was really fun as an actor to dig into.
And the scale of this is massive, and I feel like there's so many elements. So much happens before you officially go to camera on Cross on Prime, right, Louise? Like you're having the discussions, you're preparing for your character and everything. So from an acting storyteller perspective, you can see there's two journeys, right? Before filming Cross and after
Mm,
filming Cross.
mm,
Or for you specifically, does it feel like one big journey with multiple steps in between? I'm curious about that.
hmm, interesting. Uh, yeah, I feel like there's definitely the before that sort of bleeds into, where you're sort of you're doing all the prep, you're sort of imagining what it'll be like, and then
Yep.
as you get there, it all becomes real, right? And then all of a sudden, it's not just what you're thinking in your head. You're work like I work primarily with Ryan Eggold, who's an amazing actor, and so showing up on set and discovering what he was doing. And then one thing I wasn't anticipating was how physical the role was. And the your mind knows it's fake. Your body doesn't know that it's fake. Your body thinks it's real because it
Mhm.
is real to your
Yeah.
body. And so the bruises were real.
Yeah.
The physic like I was exhausted at the end of days, just physically, just from like struggling and
Mhm.
all that. And so when we wrapped, it was another journey of sort of coming back to myself in that way. Like I had dyed my eyebrows, or they dyed my eyebrows for the show. I didn't look like myself when we wrapped. And I was sad,
Mhm.
because like what I'd been doing was so dark. And so there was a journey then, a sort of coming back. And I do think that as an actor, I didn't realize quite to the extent that your body takes on what you're doing, because I've mostly done happy, positive things.
Yep.
And so you're not really
Or
thinking.
your character is a happy, positive person in something that's maybe not that positive.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Or a strong person, or,
Yeah.
like somebody like the right stuff. Like I certainly took stuff on, I think sort of inadvertently, but this one, it was so stark what I was taking
Yeah.
on. So yeah, that was an interesting journey.
I feel like it depends on the project because I'm interested after what you just said about the journey component of it. What is that moment like when you wrap Cross? Like, is it like I need a break? Is it I'm ready for the next project? I'm ready to go back specifically to this show. If there's a second like season, like what is the mindset wrapping Cross, given everything you just said about like the physical stuff as well?
Well, I was both exhausted and also really vitalized. Like
Yeah.
it was so.
It's a weird thing when you tell people that they don't realize it, but like it makes sense for people that have been
Yeah,
on a set, like it
totally.
does.
Yeah, like, especially when something's really hard, right? So I was, like, completely wiped, but I was also like, "Oh my god, this is the most," like, I love this. I love doing this. And
Mhm.
so having that, duality, I think, yeah, a lot of artists can probably relate to that, where you both need a break, but you're also dying to get back into something that challenges you that much.
So it's like a ping pong match of emotions where you wrap across, basically,
Totally. Yeah.
essentially. It's
Yeah,
so
well,
interesting.
it happened that it was the writer's strike began the week that we wrapped. So there was, interestingly, and then that moved into the
Yes.
actor strike as well, right? So there was a built-in 6-month break where nobody was doing anything at all, right?
Well,
Right.
I feel like it's interesting too because I feel like the two biggest kind of like misconceptions about the life of an actor is one, people just think that like actors know what's going on all the time, like you know what I mean, like on social media, like they think you know about what's gonna happen with your character in every season, like they think you know that, you know what I
Right,
mean?
right, right, right.
But I think the second thing too is kind of what you were talking about is like it's really like on to the next journey, right? Until like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's something that I think a lot of people don't realize. And I realized that too. Like when I worked on some movies and some films, like even short films, like you're with the same people for like consecutive days, and then boom, everyone goes on other things. Like when did you start kind of realizing that that was a big part of being kind of an actor? Because I feel like some people don't realize that because that could be tough for a lot of people, kind of like
Yeah.
being in that situation if you think about it.
No, that's so true. It is. It's a really odd job that we do,
Yeah.
where you come in and you very, very intensely work with a group of people. And you're right. I mean, the hours are insane. The intimacy is so close. Like, for example, the people who did my hair and makeup on this show, Verity Fiction and Natalie Nelson, they were my hair and makeup team. I we would, 4:30 in the morning, we're like rolling out of bed, we're at work, we're like spending 2 hours together and every single day, and then you're spending, I don't know, we were probably doing 14-hour days on this show,
Yeah.
maybe more sometimes. And like, you're spending all of that time, the end of the day, you're like getting undone with them. And you get really, really close with these people. And the whole crew, everybody. And then you're right, it ends and it's sort of like that that tribe of players is disbanded. And luckily in film and TV, in TV, you can come back to multiple seasons and often have some of the same people. But um there's a little bit of heartbreak, I think, in saying goodbye every time.
100%. And then last question too. It's always this kind of surreal and weird feeling when you make something, you wrap and then you play the waiting game, and then boom, it gets disseminated to people all around the world on Prime Video.
Yeah.
Have you being on things like 50 Shades of Grey that have that kind of global fan base, are you able to prepare yourself for that kind of feeling of like it's like in your hands and then it's out of your hands because it's in the world's hands? Like I'm just curious if you think about that at all because I find that stressful, but it's a beautiful thing at the same time because so many people get to watch what you worked on, right?
Totally. I mean, I think this is like one of the most intense versions of you just don't have any control, right?
Yeah.
Like all of life, we don't have control, but this industry in particular, you work so hard on something, and then you're right, you wrap, and then it's in the editor's hands, it's in the director's hands, everybody, the producers, all of that, and then beyond that, then it's out in the public, and there's no all you can do is just be grateful to have had the opportunity to do it and be excited that people are watching it. And
Mhm.
this one in particular, sometimes you make things and not very many people get to see it.
Yeah,
I've done
absolutely.
a lot of small indies and small things that I'm so proud of that nobody really sees.
Yeah.
But it's really fun to be part of something that is. I mean, we just found out we're #1 on Amazon in the world, which is like it's so cool.
I'm
I
so
mean,
happy
that's
for you and
a
the
dream come
cast. That's
true.
so amazing. Um, yeah.
Thanks.
Uh, Cross on Prime Video. They could check that out. It'll be so great catching up with you. Thanks so much for coming back on the show.
It's so good to see you. Congratulations on everything you've been up
Oh,
to.
I really appreciate it. And
And sometime.
yeah, no, this was great. And Instagram account is just your name, Eloise Mumford, if people want to keep up to date with everything.
Eloise Mumford, yep.
Awesome. Well, this has been Pop Turn. If you do.com/Pop Turn for previous episodes, you can, of course, catch Eloise Mumford in Cross on Prime Video. Till next time, it's Eloise and Peter Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.